Okay, Hotep, peace, shalom, assalamu alaikum. I have Brother Anu with me, and tonight we're going to talk about humanitarian crisis, human consumption, and the presence of the Pygmies in North and South America. Okay.
Peace to God's goddesses.
Okay. Now, one of the things that we want to discuss um, is the human consumption, which is creating a problem for um, us as human beings. Okay, we're consuming entirely too much. We are very wasteful. Um, when we talk about some of the human garbage and the trash that have become islands, this is a contributing factor to an unhealthy and an unsanitized environment. And these are things that can contribute to and are contributing to global warming. Okay. Humans are consuming entirely too much, and it's toxic to the entire planet, into our environment. Plastic, um, we have, developed so much and produced so much plastic that it's creating a problem now for mammals, turtles and and whales and mammals from the sea are being trapped in human waste. Um, it's causing a problem for what's going on with as I stated, global warming. Another thing, we have a lot of tire island, the oil spills, the air pollution, um, and it got to a point where we were sending our plastic and our recycled um, trash to North Korea and China, and they began to view it as an insult, and they've sent our trash back. And now, like stated, it's creating a problem for us. We are consuming clothes in some countries, or some people are so wealthy, they wear something one time and it just is trash. And just mindsets and lifestyles like that are creating such a a problem, and is the major cause of human consumption, and it's creating such a problem to our environment. And I'm wondering if we're beginning to notice how it's contributing to our own destruction. It's very self-destructive when we don't when we don't know, or when we are not properly disposing of our waste and of our garbage. Um, so those are some of the things that we're going to be talking about um, in this video. Um, they have a problem with clothes in Ghana. They have a treaty. That's, well, not a treaty, but they have where we're seeing used clothes, all of our used clothes with, I guess it started from a donative, perspective, giving clothes. Well, it's gotten to the point where it has become a hazard. Now there are beaches of clothes that we have contributed, used clothes that we have contributed to Ghana, and it's fallen into the water system, and it's fallen into beaches into the ocean and creating a problem. So we need to begin to take a look at how, human waste and, human garbage is contributing to our own, destruction and our own demise. And these are the type of things we need to take in consideration and try to make better efforts towards, um, a global cleansing of our planet to help us sustain life in the environment in which we all are living. Okay. Brother Anu, would you like to make a contribution to the conversation?
Peace, but and when you're talking like humanitarian crisis, we know that the United Nations just issued a humanitarian red code, excuse me, a red code, which was in like November 2021. So that's a sign of all world leaders knowing that it's a danger and it's a threat, a major threat to our society as our environment, as human beings. We share this planet, you know.
Together, we do.
So, it just we see massive fish dying at a massive scale, birds dropping out of the sky at a massive scale, locusts. Uh, seas have been multiple seas we have seen turn red. We've seen uh, mice plague, which is
Mice
still
plague is awful.
and which is still happening. I think it never went anywhere. It's by now the mice plague is off.
Birds just dropping out of the sky. At one point in time, I think we were throwing rice to birds, and they realized that throwing rice was creating a problem. It was hazardous to the bird's health, and we stopped doing it. You know, um, it was contributing to a problem, and those are things that we're going to have to take into consideration as human beings, as people who are living on this planet together, and try to make efforts towards making a more habitable environment for ourselves. Um, and when he was talking about, them issuing an alert, um, when we talk about the water, um, we have millionaires, we have billionaires amongst us. And despite, I'm not a billionaire, but if I was a billionaire, I would try to fix the water problem. Okay. I would definitely try to ensure that everybody has the right and opportunity to clean drinking water. But when you're dealing with individualism and selfishness and greed and ignorance, because a lot of people are ignorant to certain things as well. Um, trying to understand what contributes to the destruction of, civilizations, or the destruction of a healthy environment, making things uninhabitable for us to live in. And as I stated, um, birds are dropping out of the sky. Who's not to say they're not eating on our trash? Hmm? And if that is what the case is, they are not going to want to be honest about things like that. Who's to say that those birds dropped out of the sky, sucked on some water somewhere, sucked on something, where we made that area toxic, and now they're just falling out of the sky. Same thing for the fish that are popping up. I mean, large amounts of fish just popping up dead, whales popping up to the beach dead, flapping. I mean, I've just some of the things I've never seen before in human history in my time. Um, but those are the things that we want to talk about. We want to talk about, our contribution rather than just consumption as human beings. And that's what we have really begun to do. Instead of making contributions that we should be making to our environment and ensuring that it's, natural, and ensuring that we have a healthy, sanitized environment. All human beings are focused on is consumption and what they can get out of the environment, all the resources that they can suckle. Despite the suckling, okay, um, nothing, and is indefinite. But one thing for sure is that the human consumption is creating a problem for humanity, period. Okay. Whether you want to ignore it until it gets to the point where you can hardly breathe air and you're on the ground, that's totally up to you. If you want to, focus on some of these warning signs that you're getting, it's no different than, a mother giving birth. There's signs of the baby forming inside of your body. Start feeling it moving around in there. Start kicking, you know. You start sleeping more, eating more. Um, then eventually, you start feeling these pains, or some people just don't feel any pain. They just water just breaks. Um, and next thing you know, you're giving birth. But you had a warning sign. It wasn't just like you just gave birth and it just bloop. No, there were warning signs. The water broke. In some cases, you have to break the water, but there is some pains. There are labor pains that you feel, these pains, excruciating pains. But once you give birth to this beautiful new being, this healthy, vibrant being that's so full of life that you've never experienced before, um, you you know you begin to see that it's a new presence of life. It's transforming. Um, and it had warning signs before it entered into our domain and before it entered into our world, before it emerged from the mother's womb. It's no different when you fly in an aircraft. Before you enter somebody's airspace, there's a warning sign. They get a signal, something goes out and let somebody know that flying in different territory, different zone. um so if you choose to ignore, and usually, when you be honest, let's talk about the ignorant versus the wise. When we talk about wisdom, wisdom is caring for something that contributes life to you itself, caring and nurturing something that has ensuring that you are able to sustain and maintain, and giving you resources and all of these beautiful things that you can consume to sustain life itself. So we have to focus on how ungrateful humanity has become, and humanity is very ungrateful. People of all colors and ethnic backgrounds, and ungratefulness is not defined by color. Okay, let's make that clear. Okay, humanity as a whole on a collective scale has gotten to the point where they have gotten totally beside themselves. They have no respect for nature, and as a result of your lack of respect, you're going to pay a heavy price. Okay, one plus one, it has an amount to it. Once you add things up, once you compound things, there is an end result of it. So it's we have to be honest with ourselves before we can be honest with others. So we have to be honest about how, we're talking about global warming, but you as human beings are contributing to your own self-destruction. Okay, and it's all well, it's deserving. Okay, you have been disobedient. You have not obeyed the ancestors, and as a result of disobedience, we all will pay a heavy price. Okay, it's real fucking simple. We often make it complicated. We're the ones who make it complicated. Okay. Um, on to other things, you know, when we talk about humanitarian crisis, we're talking about an identity crisis as well. Okay, it's a lot of crises going on. It's not just COVID crisis. Okay, we got a lot of crises going on. People having gender crises going on. You got humanitarian crises going on. So many crises are going on at this time. You have to, pull yourself together, trying to understand and comprehend um, everything um, at this time in history. But when we talk about um, the crises that are being experienced, we're talking about various ethnic backgrounds. Okay, various ethnic backgrounds, and from various ethnic backgrounds. One of the number one crises is an identity crisis. Many people from different locations, different and diverse geographical locations, have absolutely no clue to their own origins. Okay, and as a result of this lack of knowledge and understanding of oneself and one's origins, it's creating world chaos. Okay, when we balance, when we put it on the scales of Mayat, it's tilting, and as a result of this tilting, there's a sense of chaos in in this earthly realm, the realm of mortals. Their lack of values, lack of morality, lack of a whole lot of things going on. And despite an essence of consciousness, there's many people who have consciousness, who have knowledge, but are not making the proper application. And a knowledge with no application is a total obliteration to your mental stimulation. Okay, we got to put it all into perspective. Um, Now, when we talk about this identity crisis, this humanitarian identity crisis, um, we're talking about people from North America, born in North America, people in Africa, people in Asia, people in Europe, people who are from various, as I stated, geographical locations. And as a result of these geographical locations, in the colonialism, invasions, when people invade, oftentimes they will burn all of the scrolls, they burn evidence of the previous people as a semblance of conquering and as a form of their superiority. Okay, despite how ridiculous it is, this is what they do.
And so when we talk about the ages, we know that the original ages is a tribe of Bantu that's still in Asia today, still in China today, that they really don't want to show that they are the original ones that went down and still civilized. They still practice still African rituals. They still practice their African heritage. So, and it's still a tribe of Asian, those same tribes still in Africa and South Africa still to this day. So a lot of people don't want to talk about, that right there, how, tribes was being, dismembered and disordered throughout, planet, throughout Africa,
Right.
being pushed around,
Right.
you know.
And and a lot of this was as a result of religious perspectives, um, um, changing of uh, leadership, and with the change of leadership, people who come in don't oftentimes respect the previous leader unless it's a family member. And even in many cases, when we look at Roman history and Roman leadership, it was no respect of anything. It was killed or be killed. Okay? It was really awful. The fight for superiority in the Roman history was absolutely pathetic. Okay. But when we look back at Greek history, like Herodotus and Plato and Aristotle, one thing about these people and why they're pointed out, I think, oftentimes in history, is because they were honest despite whatever their way of life living was, their lifestyle. Many of them were honest about their travels to various geographical locations in Egypt in particular, and how they had visited this particular location. Okay, we want to be precise. How they visited Egypt and Kemet in particular, the Nubians, the Cushites, um, when they entered the land of the black people or the burnt skinned people, they had learned and gained so much knowledge, information, wisdom. And when they went back to their own people, they were transformed because they were so out of touch with reality. When they had traveled to ancient Egypt, they realized that these people were, doing some great things. They had been involved in things that these they had never imagined. Okay, their intellectual level was beyond what their understanding was. Okay, so this is why they are, when they talk about, Pythagoras and mathematics and science and astrology, they these people are looked upon because they are talking about how they travel from different lands. They looked at different cultures and different places around the world. And one of the places they found most profound is the place where the Nubians and the Cushites and the Kemites uh, and the Twa, okay, uh, these people had dwelled in the contributions that they had made, and it was so fascinating that when they went back to their own people, they began to speak differently. They looked at their concept and their perspective of life was totally different. Okay, this is how much of an impact and influence um, the ancient ancestors had, on their society and on these people. And then when they would go around their own people and they started, looking at them like, I don't even want to hear the crap you're talking about today because I just came back from this great, beautiful land and their science is advanced, their technology is advanced. We are not even near what they have going on over there. So I don't really want to hear what you got to say. So when they go to visit these different lands and geographical locations like ancient Kemet and come back to their own land, they found the lands to be boring. They found the conversations to be boring. They were totally turned off, and they weren't attracted to and stimulated by, their essence of life. They wanted and began to want more, and they aspired more. So you have to realize the impact and the influence and how the ancient ancestors have made such an inspiration, even in the Greek, in the Roman time, and even right now in our modern day society, how they're still having such a profound and major impact on society that is almost unbelievable. So it's a lot of it is really utter fascination. Many don't want to admit it. Okay, how fascinated they are. They looking at their society and saying, "But dang, our coliseums are falling apart. They're crumbling. And it hasn't been 20, 30,000 years. And you got pyramids, and they over here, and I mean, they all not just over here, they're all over the world, and they are in profound condition. Now there's a sense of envy. And envy and jealousy and greed turns to anger, hatred, and death ultimately. So we have to try to understand what is going on with uh, society and the emotional uh, attachment to the ancient structural uh, and foundations all over the world. Because when you develop an ideology and concepts and you create literature and you state how you feel in this literature and you articulate yourself and express that you feel that these certain group of people, the Swabi, the Twa, these, you feel that they came from trees, monkeys swinging, apes and monkeys. But then when you begin to travel across the world and you see that tongue sticking out all over the place, you feel like someone's beginning to laugh at you. You feel like somebody's making, you feel a sense of anger. Envy, like I said, starts from envy, jealousy, and hatred. We have to dig deep within ourselves and become in tune with the nature and everything that exists because it is a reflection of the negative and positive within the great energies. Okay. And in the great energies, as I stated, the negative energy that we've experienced from these various ethnic backgrounds is it's only because they begin to realize what they have denied themselves, which will not be hidden, which is Mayat, which is the truth. Despite how uncomplex it is, it's not very complex. But as I stated before, emotional attachments or the lack thereof creates chaotic states quite often. And chaos isn't defined by color either. So we have to dig deep within ourselves and, become in tune with our divine essence and presence and appreciate ourselves despite the adversities that we may face. Brother Anu, beloved, do you have anything that you might want to contribute?
I don't think I really have. I don't nothing I can think of at this moment.
Okay. When we talk about the North American presence, and it's going to be very anxious to many people, people of various ethnic backgrounds and origins. Okay, when you have looked at a people and you have treated them so utterly vile and perverse, you begin to realize in your studies and your journeys, once you have developed and created and obtained all of this wealth and corrupt essence and immortal, and it you and the lack of morality, okay, and values, you when you have obtained these on the literature that you've read, the things that you've been taught, and then you go out into the real world and you make your own, do your own research and you do your own studies for one own self. When one is looking for themselves, when you are looking for that mirror reflection, searching, and you come in tune with the fact that the people that you have degraded, the one that you have kept down, the one that you have placed your knee upon his neck and tried to prevent him from having the ability to suck life and air, it's same as you. You realize that you have done that to those that have given you everything that you have, you begin to realize how ungrateful you have become. When you find yourself, you begin to see things for what it really is. Okay? And when people begin to see things for what it really is, sometimes the reality is not what they want it to be. Some people handle the reality differently. Okay? There are some people that handle reality by escaping. There are others who face it head on. Then there are others who may start to abuse drugs as a form of escape. People handle things differently. That is the beauties of life, the diversity of it. When you see one flower that has blossomed to its full potential, that lotus has blossomed to its full potential, but then you look over here and you see the lily has withered, and you look and you begin to wonder. You let the one that blossom, you continue to do what you have been doing because you know that, but then you look, you take your eye off what has blossomed, and you have to begin to focus on what did I do wrong? Where did I go wrong? Why is this not blossoming? Why is it not reaching its full potential? What is hindering its growth? What has created the withering? And when you begin to find what has created the withering, and you have the capability to repair, you make application. Okay? But you take your mind off of the beautiful lotus that has blossomed to its full potential. And now you're looking at what this is what, and that is the nature. That is the beautiful nature of the supreme beings, being able to, you know, focus in on why, what, and try to work on bringing things to its full potential. Like I stated, the planet is in shambles. Okay, it is in shambles, and it is as a result of your behavior. You have contributed to your own demise. You have no one to blame but yourselves. Okay. Now, taking responsibility for one's action behavior is a totally different life. Okay. Because we have a lot of narcissists out there who don't want to take, we're dealing in a world, and we don't want to realize we're dealing in a world that is, of narcissism. People who don't want to take responsibility for their actions. And that's not just a male, female, gender, race, color thing, it's a humanitarian thing. Okay. It's not about color. It's a humanitarian thing because everything we live on this planet together. And when we were talking about the contributions of various societies and the contributions that one has made, and when you look at the civilizing of the Europeans, this is one of the reasons why we attempted to civilize. Okay, when the healthy, unhealthy living, because we are the lovers of the planet, because we care about nature, because we care about life itself. And you have something, someone, somewhere contributing to the death, corrosion and death. Your supreme nature is to try to heal, cure, and bring it to its full potential. Okay? What has with it? Okay? So it's just natural. Okay? We have to understand that. It's natural. When you pass by something, and you pass by a house, and you jog on your jog, you're passing by a house and you're jogging, and you smell a smell. Okay? It was one time, it was, but after a while, it would look like it had a little life there, But then it's now you smell passing by, you smell corrosion, you smell death. So what do you do? Do you continue to pass and ignore the smell, the hideous, or is the nature of a human or and even a freaking animal kind of like an animal will go sniff it might go away, but it does go to see what in the world is that smell. So we have to understand and become in tune with our divine nature. Okay, this is what we're going to have to do, and that's going to take digging deep within. And when I say dig deep within, it's a lot of people who have issues, and caring about the planet could be the least of their worries. They got so many, and they consume consummation. It's consumed with so many other things, so many other issues that the planet is and that's the human mentality right now. We have become so consumed with some of the things that are going on, that life itself seems not to have become very important to us. Because life exists in various forms, not just in human form. And without this planet, I don't know what you're gonna do. You don't look like you're going to space. You don't look like you're ready to do too much right now. Okay, you so consumed with your own uh, materialistic uh, um, consumption going to another level. It hasn't even crossed your mind. You haven't even begun to fathom. You know, and this is hindering the progress of humans, and on a collective scale as well, the progress. But when we talk about the presence of the Twa and the Pygmies and the presence, there's various essences of presence of Pygmies in North America, in South America, in Asia, in Egypt. We don't, and I'm not even gonna, we're getting some of these conversations and debates are absolutely ridiculous. Okay. When you allow people who you have taught, you teaching them history and telling them, and they got to come to you to ask you, what is this and that and that, and you letting them, it's going to create a problem. So you stop a problem by not engaging sometimes. And the essence of the Pygmies and the Twa, the ancient Nubians, are in Africa, in Asia, in Europe, in South America, in North America, ah, in the Antarctic. See, that's what I'm saying. You got to get somebody. Some people can't take a joke, okay? And that's another problem that we're dealing with. We were talking about Dave Chappelle, and as a comedian, he made a comment, and there were some people who really couldn't take a joke, okay? And as a result of them not taking a joke, he was, ostracized, dehumanized, and humiliated. For what reason? I have absolutely no clue. People who can't control their own emotions, oftentimes, people who sometimes need therapy. Okay, therapy is not a bad thing. Anything that is contributing to the healing and empowerment of self is always beautiful, especially if it's transforming into a beautiful lotus. Okay, but when you ignore and you don't want to get the help and the healing that one needs to blossom into its full potential, then it begins to wither. Okay, so, and as we stated before, when we look at the tongue, the ancient golden tongue, okay, when you see the ancient golden tongue, you see the ancient tongue all over the place. You see the golden tongue, they're begging, they are begging. you know, to be released from the underworld. The life that you have, the life that we have right now, the beautiful nature and the planet, that we are contributing to our own destruction and our own demise in so many ways. Okay? Countless. Um, and when we talk about golden, the golden life that we have, we talk about the golden catfish. Now, I'm not a catfish eater. I don't like catfish. I'm not a cat, but I will eat some catfish too, occasionally. But I'm not a. It's not my. It's not my thing. But one thing about the golden catfish in ancient history is it is smiled upon. And one of the reasons why the catfish is golden, the golden catfish, is because it was said to have eaten the penis of Osiris, the golden penis. Okay? And the great mother had to then create a new essence of fertility. Um, so when we talk about the presence of the Native American, Olmec, whatever you want to call them, I mean, it doesn't particularly matter. But we definitely have the presence of the Tuatha Pygmies in North America and South America. When you look at the ancient Aztec, and you look at the ancient Mayans, we look at the Grand Canyon. When you look at all of the uh, ancient structural foundations across the North and South Americas, you see the presence of the Great Pygmies. So let's not get too far off on questioning because it's absolutely ridiculous. Okay, questioning the essence and the presence. The question and the presence and the essence of who coming and arriving and presence in the North and South Americas is definitely the presence of the Europeans, because we know that you or that presence was not always. This is one thing that we can all agree on. All cultures and societies can come to that conclusion and that understanding. Okay. If anybody wasn't here, it was Europeans. Okay. All right. Um, and I know that that's going to hurt some feelings. I know it's going to, because they always tell you, oh, go back to Africa, but you don't really find people saying that a lot anymore. Because, when somebody tells a person to go back to Africa, especially a European, the first thing you would ask them is, well, when do they plan to return to Europe? Okay. So we want to make sure that we understand that some of the debates are becoming futile, they are becoming meaningless. There's so many other things that requires one's attention. That would be of more benefit to the progression and the production of humanity as a whole and the individual communities, nations, and civilizations. Okay. So, with that being said, I think we're going to bring this live to an end. I hope that this was very informative, and we look to bring you some more information in another live. So, Hotep, peace, and um, stay up and keep your head up.
I was just looking.